Welcome everybody to the seventh class of Atma Bodha. So, as usual, we would like to acknowledge Swami Paramarthananda Saraswati, whose lectures we are studying. So, all this material is prepared based on his commentaries and lectures. So, we acknowledge um, his grace for the traditional rendering of Vedanta as it was done for over 1,000 years, starting with Adi Shankaracharya. And we will say a small prayer to the lineage of teachers. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Salutations to the lineage starting with Lord Sadashiva, with Adi Shankaracharya in the middle and continuing up to our immediate teacher, Swami Paramarthananda Saraswati. So just to recap where we are right now. So we first saw how Shankaracharya presents this text as he talks about the qualifications for the practice. Then the whole problem comes because of ignorance, and the purpose of the practice is to remove that. And then he talks about our wrong notion, the ignorance, our misunderstanding of the world and of ourselves. And it's due to the superimposition of our true nature with the what is called the prakriti, or the non-sentient portion. And our body, even the mind, is non-sentient. So the superimposition is the problem. And this is called adhyasa. So that is what we saw. Then the upadhis. A upadhi is something which seems to lend its property to something else. Like when you get a red flower next to a crystal, it looks as though the crystal is red. Like that, this pure Atma, when the body comes into contact with that, then it looks as though the Atma, the sentient being, has the properties of the body. Good looking, tall, all those things are properties of the body. But it seems to give it to the sentient being called this Jiva. And the Jiva is actually nothing but the Atma. That is, you are nothing but the consciousness. But you seem to think, okay, I have this body, I'm smart, all those things. So that is the Upadhi. That's the problems caused by the Upadhi. Then the solution to this superimposition, that is Atma Anatma Vivekam, using the intellect which has been sharpened in the first portion by the yogic practice. With that, you are able to separate. Vivekam means discriminate. Vivekam is discrimination. The discriminating power between Atma, which is this what is conscious, and Anatma, which is not conscious, which is the body and the mind. That is the next solution to this entire problem. And then we talked about how do we go about this process. It is how do we know the oneness between the Jiva and this ever all-pervading consciousness. It is through a process called Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, where Shravanam is listening to the knowledge for study, right? Mananam is understanding it without doubt. That requires self-reflection, all that. Nididhyasanam is internalizing through Vedantic meditation. We also saw the difference between Upasana and Nididhyasanam. Upasana is where you use an object to focus the mind. That's the initial stage of the meditation to get the mind to become little stable. Once you get to the stability, you wield it like a torchlight, which is you're able to shine on different things to illuminate. If the hand is shaky, the mind, think of it as a hand holding a torchlight. If it's shaky, it is not able to achieve the purpose. Now we are kind of winding down, and so from the part 6 all the way to the end, Shankaracharya is going to talk about the Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti, and that a Jnani, this person of wisdom who has realized the self, how he or she goes about in the world and what's their outlook, all that he's going to talk about. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, there's a one of the most famous portions. It's on Sthita Prajna, and I'll see if we have time, we'll come to this. Some of the most beautiful verses in the Bhagavad Gita are found in this portion, called Sthita Prajna Lakshanani, the qualities of a person of ascertained wisdom. Sthita means stable, Prajna means wisdom, the very stable wisdom. Arjuna asked this question to Bhagavan Krishna, and he asked, how does this person move about, how does this person talk, all that. So, and Bhagavan gives some of the most beautiful verses. Okay, now so we are at this portion, so let's go to that portion now. So from Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti. So these two terms, I didn't quite elaborate what it is. Mukti means liberation. So there are many terms that are used: moksha, mukti, kaivalyam, and all these terms. Apavargam. So in the Yoga Sutras, it's called drashta, drishimatraha, shuddhopi, pratyayanupashyaha, bhoga pavargatam drishyam. So the purpose of this body is experience, and it's a vehicle for apavarga, which is liberation. So Jivan Mukti means it is getting liberated when you are alive. And then Videha Muktihi, that is liberation after you die. So this may cause a little bit of confusion. You then naturally will ask, then for some people, is this liberation happening right at the time of death, like that 1 millisecond? That's how it's happening. Otherwise, it's a Jivan Mukti. So the answer is yes or no. And actually, the answer is no. The Jivan Mukti means when you are living, you get liberated. That is, you attain this knowledge. After that, you are just living through the rest of this life to exhaust your prarabdha karma. The prarabdha karma has started in your body. The reason you gain this body is because of the prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma is that karma which has started the fruition, and then you have realized, but you have to still exhaust the karma, which is why you're in the body. And Bhagavan Shankaracharya is going to talk about that person. And then Videha Mukti means at the end of this life, the person leaves. Videha means without, the we is without here. We can also mean as qualifier, a special, Vishesha. So it can either mean without or special. So here it means without. Videha means without the body. Videha Mukti means the liberation without the body. So after this enlightened person, after this he dies or she dies, the person is liberated. So there's no more future births or death. Now, there is another type of mukti, which is called krama mukti. And that is why that also comes under Videha Mukti strictly, but in the sense that you leave this human body, but then apparently it's talked about in the Kathopanishad, and in the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita also, Bhagavan talks about it in detail. You're almost there. So you've done all the powers, you're great. It's what happens when you're a great devotee, but you don't have that knowledge. So you will go to the highest world, the Brahma Loka. So there are different Swarga heavens, apparently, in the highest world. You get lessons from Brahmaji himself, and then you get liberated. So that also comes under Videha Mukti. But that we can keep it aside for now. So Jivan Mukti means liberation during this life. And then Videha Mukti means what happens, the state of liberation after the person casts off the body. Then there is no more rebirth. That's all it means. Okay. All right. Now, what I wanted to do is this cognition process. So before that, I wanted to ask this question. So we talked about this concept of vritti vyapti and phala vyapti. So these are all very technical terms, and it's very subtle, very powerful in Vedanta. So Vedanta analyzes the mind's cognition in great detail. All these yoga, Vedanta, Sankhya, they all analyze the mind so much. So the process of cognition, even though for us everything is garbled together. In fact, one of the siddhis of the yogis is that when animal emits a sound, so the feelings, everything, it is garbled together. And the yogis have the power to split all that and decipher that's how they understand the animals, apparently. So that is one of the powers of the yogis. So the cognition process, because our mind is not still, we are not able to separate it. But the cognition process, it's actually a combination of multiple things which looks as though it's coming as one. So I told you about the vritti vyapti and the phala vyapti. So if you don't remember what it is, I gave vritti vyapti means it is envelope, vritti, that is forming the image of an object in your mind. It is still relatively inert, just like a lens. You have in the retina of the eye, the image forms. This does not require consciousness. The image is there. You're not analyzing the image. So like that, the example, what Shankaracharya is trying to say and what the Vedanta says is that in order to know the consciousness, all you need to do is to remove all the other unwanted stuff, and then the consciousness reveals itself. Whereas in order to know any other object, you have to shed the consciousness on it. Because if you want to know your own consciousness, there's no need to shed the consciousness, right? We saw that a light, you're trying to illuminate the sunlight with a mirror. No, it's a joke. So, and here, the example that Shankaracharya gives is, actually, this is from Panchadashi. There are two pots. One pot is covering a lit candle. The other pot is covering an unlit candle. As and when you're removing the first pot, light comes in. So the whole thing is illumined. There's no need to shine a torchlight to see what is underneath the pot. The second pot containing the unlit candle, when you're slowly removing it, it's still dark. Then you have to shine a torchlight to those. That's how it is with knowing the Atma and knowing other objects. Other objects requires the mind to get the consciousness to cast light on the screen and illuminate it. Whereas to know the Atma, it is self-evident. It'll just happen on its own when all the ignorance is removed. This is what it's trying to say. This concept, was it clear to everybody, or does it need, it's a very important concept. That's why I'm asking, does it need more explanation? So it's clear. Okay. Now, what about others? Anybody needs more explanation on the vritti vyapti and the phala vyapti?
Can you explain what the word vyapti
Yeah,
means?
vyapti means pervation. Okay. All right. I'll come to that. That's a good question. There's some noise. I'm going to close the window just a second. Yeah. The word vyapti means pervasion. So it is called, so it's good that you asked. Vritti vyapti, I'll explain it in a second. Vyapti means permeation or pervasion. So this is what happens. Vritti vyapti, like I said, the mind modifies. It takes a form of object. Just think of this as your eye. The image is formed on the retina, right? It is, the whole thing is a mechanical process. Like that, this image is also then formed on the mind, apparently. As and when it is forming, the images, the mind takes on this thing, the consciousness is illuminating it. Now I see all this pattern. Oh, what is it? That is a book. The book it has a glossy cover. All these details, it's getting illuminated. The whole vritti vyapti it's considered more a mechanical thing. Parts of it could include some work, but it's still mechanical. I'll give you another example. Now, you sometimes we could be looking at things, but we are looking at it. The image is getting formed on our mind, but we are not registering it. Has it happened? Somebody say, "Oh, you were just looking at it. Didn't you see that?" Oh, I didn't. I don't, because our mind was thinking about something, but we are seeing all that. We are looking at it. It's registering our. We were daydreaming, right? So the entire thing, that's a vritti vyapti. It's still the image. It's there. The mind is seeing all that, but it didn't register us. Then
So the word vyapti, so permeation means permeation to the screen of the mind.
yeah. So the
That's what.
way, yeah, the Vedanta says is it's the mind. It casts out through the sensors and just permeates the object, and it puts it in the projector screen of the mind.
I see.
So that's kind of, it's the whole thing. You're capturing the image. That's what's called like permeation. Okay. And
Okay.
then phala vyapti is when the consciousness, phalam, the fruit, that's the result. When the consciousness shines, every detail, lot of things about it is known. It reveals the object to the knower. Okay, so phala means the experience or the knowledge resulting from the vritti. So that's why it's called a phalam. Phalam means fruit. The fruit is something about that object is known. Previously, nothing was known. And the two things are happening enmeshed together that you don't even realize that. But those two are separate things. Okay,
Okay.
all right. Uh, okay. Good. So, and the other example that is given is, so for Atma Jnanam, only Vritti Vyapti is necessary. Another example that is given is a sculptor. So there's a stone. Inside the stone, there's a statue, right? I mean, it's just stone, but what you need to do to get to the statue is just remove, chisel away all the unwanted parts of the stone, and you have the statue. Um, so the chiseling process, that is, yeah, vritti vyapti. It's like a mechanical. So this is so subtle that there are so many questions that come here. Even though finally, when we are able to see the Atma, apparently, we just reject, oh, my mind, my mind is not the consciousness because it's inert. But to know that the mind is not consciousness and it is inert, you've done a lot of work there. You've used your consciousness, all that thing, to analyze, do all that. Any analysis requires the reflected consciousness in the mind. But in that stage, you just cast it away. Once you realized, oh, my body is not the consciousness, my mind is not the consciousness, because I can see the mind, therefore it's not me. Like that, that process of chiseling away, to know that it requires work, but finally the thing to cast it aside, it's just a cut. You just throw that stone, this piece, and then as and when you're doing, the whole thing is revealed. So like that, Atma reveals itself. So here, alavyapti is not required. Atma, it's just, you just need throwing away unwanted things. So that is the how the cognition process works. Whereas if it's a dark, the example they give is, there's a let's say there's a person who's selling statues. Somebody wants to buy a statue, so he's taking this person to the basement, and it's dark. The whole room, the basement is so dark, and he's couldn't find the lights yet. So then finally he comes to the statue and he brings the customer and says, ah, this is the statue. Let me see if I can find the light. Till then, this person is groping on the statue and trying to see, I see. It seems like it, but still doesn't understand. And then after the person turns the light on, that is the palavyapti, the whole statue is revealed. Till then, we've come from ignoring all the other statues in the basement to the desired statue, and then the light reveals the details of the statue. So there, that's like knowing any other object. But to know the Atma, you don't need it, because Atma is self-luminous. You don't need another light to illuminate it. So that's the example. And the cognition process that we previously talked about, this is also an important thing to understand. There are four aspects involved in cognition. There's called Triputi, or three Triputi typically. The they call Pramata, Pramana, and Prameya. This is the three parts. One is the knower, that is you, the observer. That's the knower. Pramana, instrument, your eyes that see is the instrument. And then Prameya, what is to be known? In this case, a pot, the object that is to be known. And finally, the knowledge. Knowledge is the correct understanding. Oh, a pot is something which looks like this, made of clay, all the details. That is the knowledge which gets stored in the memory of the brain. Okay. So this is how the cognition process, all these happen so enmeshed and together that we just think it's one. But this is how it's broken up in yoga and Vedanta. Okay. Now, so, and then Shankaracharya, so previously he gives this example of like the rising sun removes darkness, so too Atma removes the ignorance, both rising of their own accord. So Aruneneva bodhena purvam santamase krute tata avirpavedatma swayame pamshumaniva. Like the Lord of the early dawn, so too it's by knowledge that like the former sun dispels the darkness. When the self rises, it will remove the ignorance. So then Shankaracharya, he doesn't want people to think that, oh, there is something actively one needs to do to understand this, and it's very difficult process, all that, because people do all this meditation, this do tapas. It looks as though it's very difficult, but then Shankaracharya, that's why he gives this beautiful example. No. You are doing all these practices to know that you don't need the practice at all, because it was already with you. It is because of your ignorance you could not see. So, Atma tu satatam praptaha aprapyaptava vidyaya tannashe praptavat bhati swakhanda baranam yata. It's the Atma. It's like a person is searching for the lost necklace, but then the person doesn't realize it's on their own neck. Like that, it's like the missing ornament on one's own neck. It's always there with you. So the sadhana is, or the practice is necessary to know that sadhana is not at all necessary. So that is why Shankaracharya puts this, because otherwise people will think it's so far out of reach. I can't get it at all. No, it's with you. You just need to remove the ignorance. Okay, so now to the rest. Sthanau purushavat brantya krutha brahmani jivata jivasya tatvike rupe tasmin drishte nivartate. Due to the delusion, a tree stump appears to be a person or a ghost. Okay, so a tree stump can look like a ghost in that a dark light, or like a person. Sthanau purushavat bhrantya. Sthanau means it's here the trunk of a tree. That's called a sthanau. A stationary object is sthanau too. Here it's a trunk of a tree, the tree stump. Purushavat, Purusha, it's like a person, or in this case, a ghost. It appears to be like a ghost, like that. Kritha Brahmani Jivata, so that in Brahman, the individual jiva is assumed. Jivasya tatvike rupe tasmin drishte nivartate. When the real nature of the jiva is seen in the jiva, then the jiva comes to an end. So once you know that you are that consciousness and all the other things is just like a cloth that you wear, then the jiva comes to an end. There's no more repetition of this birth and death. That is the Jivan Mukti process. So he is describing there. Jivasya tatvike rupe, when the real tatvik, tattva means reality. When the real nature of the jiva is seen, tasmin drishte is seen inside this shell that we have. Tasmin drishte means seen. Tasmin means in that thing. It is seen. Then nivartate, the jiva comes to an end. Okay, like a tree stump. In a tree stump, a ghost or something like that is seen, mistakenly seen. In Brahman, a jiva is mistakenly seen. Okay, now the word Brahma Praptihi, which he has used in the previous shloka, that can create confusion. It looks as though someone is trying to attain Brahman. So, but actually, that's why Shankaracharya is telling all the previous one also, the Khanda Bharanam, Swakhanda Bharanam Yata, the ornament on one's own neck, it's always there. But because of ignorance, we think it's something else. So this Brahma Praptihi doesn't mean we are going and getting this Brahman or something. No, it is just knowing our own true nature. Cessation of the notion that I'm something other than Brahman. So Brahma Praptihi is removing the thought or idea that I am not Brahman. So it is the movie, like the movie theater screen. Another example. What is there is just the screen. But when they play a movie, so this is a Narasimha movie, it's so, when Bhagavan breaks from the pillar, the scene, it's just, I mean, it's so phenomenal. This Hiranyakashipu in the Prahlada story, he says, is the Vishnu in the stone? The little child says, yes, my Lord Bhagavan Vishnu is in that pillar. So Hiranyakashipu, the evil father, the Asura, he breaks the throne, and from that Bhagavan comes. So that scene is so powerful. But what is there? It's just a movie. What is behind the movie? It says only the screen. This all images like that. The screen is like the Brahman, the substratum. All the images are like the jivas. We are so caught up with the images but we don't see the screen. But when we see the screen past the image, then the movie loses its grip. We don't get caught up. So that's what is trying to, Shankaracharya is trying to say. So far, is everything clear? So this is the portion on Jivan Mukti. Now he's talking about the process of getting liberated. Once somebody knows the true essence, then Tasmin Drishte Nivartate, he says here. Jivasya Tatvike Rupe Tasmin Drishte Nivartate. Once that is known, the Jiva comes to an end. So he's talking about Jivan Mukti. So far, is this clear? The thought flow in this section. And this jiva is not something that you have to attain. It is already yourself. All the sadhana is not really necessary if you know this. It is necessary only to remove the ignorance, all the practice that we do. Okay. Tattvasvarupānubhavāt utpannam jnanamanjasa aham mameti chajnanam bhādate digpramadivat. Okay. As a result of the experience of the true nature of reality, The knowledge that arises immediately removes the ignorant notions of mine and I, just as right information removes wrong notions of all directions. So this knowledge that comes, it just not just removes the notions of I and mine, it removes all ignorance. Every misunderstanding is removed. So let's look at the words. Tattva Swarupa Anubhavat. Anubhava means to experience. Tattva Swarupa means the true nature. So Tattva Swarupa Anubhavat, by experiencing this true nature of reality. Utpannam means arising, the knowledge. Utpannam, Jnanam, Anjasa. Anjasa means immediately. The knowledge that immediately arises removes aham, the notions of I, aham, mama, mine, this is mine, I am great, all that removes notions of I and mine. Cha ajnanam, all the ignorance. Ajnanam is the lack of knowledge or ignorance, just, and removes the ignorant notions, I, mine, and everything, just as the right information removes wrong notions of directions. Now, when he says directions, it's all directions. So, bhadate digbrahmadivate. Digbrahma means you're confused. Which way should I go? In a city, you're lost. Where should I go? Here, this way, where is north, where is south? All that, you're totally confused. That is Dig Brahma. You're just deluded about the direction. Bhadate, it removes, means destroys the delusion about the directions. Okay. So when one ignorance goes, it automatically destroys all other ignorance, which is the byproduct of the knowledge. So Brahma Jnanam removes only Atma Ajnanam, but as a byproduct, all other errors also go away. This example is like, so in those days, they would sail by the North Star, right? So when you know where north is, immediately you know where east, west, south, all the directions are. So, and like a sign that says north, it only says north, but you also know where east, west, everything is. So like right information removes wrong notion of all directions. So that's what Shankaracharya is trying to say. And the example, nirmamaha, so we saw these two things, I and mine. This is the biggest problem, the notion of I and mine, that is used throughout the Bhagavad Gita too. In fact, in the Sthita Prajna, that portion towards the end, Bhagavan uses these words. Vihaya kaman yat sarpan puman sharati nispruhaha nirmamo nirahankaraha sashantimadi gacchati. Having given up all binding desires, the person who moves about in this world, free from longing and with us, free from a sense of I and mine, that is ego and possession, attains peace. This person feels very light because it doesn't have to worry about the image. It doesn't have to pretend this person is strong or smart or good looking, because the person knows that in the true self, it's different. It's just, the body is just a temporary abode that the person is taking. And having given up all the binding desires, this person moves about in this world free from longing. Person feels so light. That's what's said in the Bhagavad Gita. And again, in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita on Bhakti, Bhagavan, so I told you that there are this jnani, the Jivan Mukta, the liberated person, is also talked about in the Bhagavad Gita. There are three terms given that. One of them is the Sthita Prajna, we saw that just now. So this portion is on the Sthita Prajna, the person of steady wisdom. This next portion is the Bhakta, a devotee, Para Bhakta, great Bhakta. That's in the Bhakti Yoga, the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. I'm trying to draw similarities because these words throughout the scriptures, they are used. So here the Bhagavan is describing who that great devotee is. The great devotee also knows that what's inside is the same as the God or Brahman or consciousness. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitra karuna yevacha nirmamo nirahankaraha samadhukka sukha kshami. The word he uses for this person is shami, one who's of tranquil mind. And why does the tranquil mind come? This person doesn't have the notions of nirmamaha, of mamaha and ahankaraha, notions of mine and I. One who has no hateful feeling towards all beings, who's indeed friendly and compassionate, free from the notions of mine and I. That tranquil person, Shami, is balanced in pleasure and pain, and he goes on. Okay, and in the 18th chapter also, Bhagavan, when he is summarizing, he talks about ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodham parigraham vimuchya nirmamak shantaha brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Having abandoned ego, desire for power, arrogance, lust, anger, covetousness, free from the notion of mind. So ego, I, and mind, mamakara, and being peaceful, that person is fit for attaining Brahma. Okay. Now let's recap the thought flow through these verses. So far, is everything clear in this portion? Now we're the final portion, that's the Jivan Mukti. When what Shankaracharya is saying here is, how does this, what's this person's outlook? What is this liberation process? What's needed to get liberation? All that he is talking about in these verses. So far, any questions here before I tie everything together? Everybody's quiet. Anything from anybody? So we saw the cognition process. Okay, we can go ahead. All right. So let's tie the development of the thought process through the verses. We will, verse 40, we'll see the state of the seeker. So 40 says, Rupa Vartnadikam Sarpam Vihaya Paramarthavit. So what is this Paramarthavit? One who has attained, knows that Brahman. Paramartha means Paramartha, that's the supreme Brahman. Vit means one who knows. That person casts the rupa and varnam, that is the world of names and forms. Remember this ornament example that we saw somewhere here. Let's see if I can, okay, yeah. So we saw that, right? All the world of objects is just names and forms. There's only one thing that is existing, that is the Brahman. Like in this image, there's only one thing, that is the screen. That's like the Brahman, the substratum. On that, everything is projected. So, but we get so carried with the image, we don't see the screen behind it. Like that, we get so carried by the shapes, the gold bangles, all that, but it's just a lump of gold, which can be made into this. Like that, this person, initially, they don't know the true self, so they're kind of groping in the world of names and forms, like all of us. Then once this person knows, they cast away the names and forms and see the underlying substratum behind everything. Then in 41, Jnatrik-jnana-jneya bhedah parenatmani vidyate. So all the Triputi, Jnata, Jnata, Jnanam, Jneyam, all these things. And so that's the knower, the instrument of knowledge, the object of knowledge, all those things does not exist in the self. So it is now we are using the intellect to know what is the self, what is not the self. So your second step, first you are groping the world of names and forms, then the person casts aside all that, then the person uses the intellect, that's the mananam, and finally the next portion is evamatmaranau dhyana matane satatam krite, the meditation, the nididhyasanam. That's what's talked about. It's like the arani matanam, ritual churning of a wooden rod for fire. So we saw that somewhere before. Ritual churning of a rod for fire. Okay, so it's called a arani mathanam process. So it is internalizing or nididhyasana. Then the benefits of meditation are seen. Arune neva bodhena purvam santama se krute. Like the rising sun removes the darkness, like that, the benefits of meditation, everything, it's just revealed. And that's where we talked about the siddhis. Even though it's not emphasized in Vedanta, a lot of powers happen at that because of how the mind is focused. Okay, then person, it initially looks, oh, I found something, but then the person realizes the self has been with us all along, like the swakhanda bharanam yata, the missing ornament on one's own neck. Atma tu satatam praptah aprapya tada vidyaya tannashe praptavat bhati swakhanda paranam yata. And we had mistaken it for something else, like that sthanau purushavat brantya, like a ghost is seen in a tree stump. Sthanau purushavat brantya krita brahmani jivata. So we had mistaken it all along for something else. It's been on our own neck. And then one finds that this knowledge removes not only the misconception of the self, but all problems as well. Like bhadate dikpramadivate. Bhadate means destroy. Dikprama means confusion about the direction. The clarification of one direction removes the lack of knowledge of all other directions. If somebody tells you where north is, you know where south, east, west, everything is, like that. Tattva tatvaswarupanubhavat utpannam jnanamanjasa aham mameti cha jnanam bhadate dikpramadivat. Okay, now we attitude of a jnani. How does the jnani look at the world and go about it? So Shankaracharya gives some very glowing examples, or it's just his command of the language. You'll see that here. Samyak vijnanavan yogi swatman yevakhilam jagat ekam cha sarvam atmanam ikshate jnana chakshusha. Samyak vijnanavan, yogi of perfect realization. Samyak means complete, all. So the yogi of perfect realization, yogi, the term yogi is used. Samyak vijnanavan yogi, swatman eva akhilam jagat. So look at the word he is using, powerful word. Swatman eva, in their own self, they see the entire universe abiding in their own self. That is, they know that that's Atma is the same as Brahman. Ekam cha sarpam atmanam ikshate jnana chakshusha. Through their jnana chakshu, through their eye of wisdom, they see everything as one, non-dual, and as their self. As they see everything as one. So all, like the image we saw in the previous thing. So we saw, there's only the screen. So all these are the images. So this person knows that they see everything as just the screen. They see everything, the entire universe, as one non-dual self. there's only Brahman which is getting projected. Everything is a projection on Brahman due to Maya. So the entire world, through their eye of wisdom, Ekam cha sarvam atmanam. Ekam cha, non-dual. Ekam means one, it means non-dual. It's not two different things. Even this matter that we see at the Paramarthika level, it's like a projection on the Brahman, like that light and darkness that we saw. Initially, there was only light and then some darkness is there, but when they started mixing, it gives patterns, a shadow and this, and it looks as though a prapancham, a universe is created. But everything is a play on Brahman. They see everything as one and as their own self. Okay. Ikshate jnana chakshusa. Ikshate means see. Atman atmanam ikshate. So they see the self. Atmanam. So they see their entire universe as their self. Okay. And in fact, so I'm drawing some analogies with the Bhagavad Gita. So in fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, this is also used quite often. And previously, the same shloka Shankaracharya has repeated. He's used it in the 39th verse also. Atmanyeva kilam drishyam. So the word drishyam was used here. The entire Akhilam is used. Akhilam Jagat, the entire universe is used. Akhilam Jagat's Atmani Eva Ikshate. We see the entire universe as resting in themselves. Previously, Atman Eva Akhilam Drishyam. Akhilam Drishyam, the entire scene. So what is seen is the universe. So that's how Vedanta looks at everything as subject and object. So that's why the entire universe is called Drishyam, that which is seen. Now Jagat is used. So previously it was Drishyam, now Jagat. Wise should intelligently merge the entire world of objects in the Atma alone and constantly think of the self as ever uncontaminated by anything as space. That's what is in the 39th. So it's like a repetition of the previous verse. And in the Bhagavad Gita also, in the 6th chapter, the yogi. So this is what a yogi is. Here it's called, Jivan Muktaha. So different names. One who's the perfected yogi. I mean, yoga is a gradual stage. The perfected yogi, once that who has attained the knowledge, is a Jivan Mukta. So in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Sarva Bhutastamatmanam Sarva Bhutani Chatmani Ikshate Yoga Yuktatma Sarvatra Samadarshanaha. One who's rooted in yoga sees their self in all the beings and all beings in their self. They see the same everywhere. They only see the screen. They don't see all this image. Everything is in their self, and their self is in everything. It's like a image projection. So all the ideas, they're same throughout the scriptures. So there are actually 4 shlokas in the Bhagavad Gita which exactly convey the same image. Okay, so where are we right now? We first saw that body, mind, everything, all these are upadis. We are not us. That's not I, right? So it is Atma, Anatma, Bheda. The Bheda means difference, is negated. Okay, then now we are negating Atma, Atma, Bheda. It's not like you have a different Atma, I have a different Atma. No, it's one consciousness that's pervading, it's everything. We are all part of that. But then you can say, oh, why can't I know your mind? No, you can't know it, because to know the mind, to understand anything requires the intellect also. And it's together the understanding takes place. And you don't know the intellect. Of course, yogis with some yogic powers can do that. But in general, I can't read your mind. Okay. So the phrase is, Ekam cha sarvam ikshate. They see everything as one. When they outwardly see many waves, they only perceive water. That's a substratum. So all the waves are like the individual jivas, different people, but come and go. A wave comes for some time. It may be 3 seconds, but this 3 second can be like a 80, 100 years in human terms, but it's the same, different. It's an analogy. In the case of water wave, 3 seconds. In the case of human beings, 80, 100 years. They come and go. It's full of this. This person just sees water through their eye of wisdom. All the plurality is one. Atmaivedam jagat sarvam atmanonyanna kinchana mrudho yat vat kathadhini swatmanam sarvamikshate. This entire universe is the Atma itself. Other than the Atma, nothing whatsoever exists. Just as spots are only made from clay, the jnani sees everything as their own self. So again, Shankaracharya in these verses, he will reiterate the same concept again and again. So for a jnani, the jnani only sees clay in all pots of different forms. They use the pot example because those days, I mean, they used it for cooking and fetching water, all that. Pots is just a name form for clay. Like all the ornaments are just a name form for gold. What is there? What you call a bangle, it's just a name form. There's only gold. Like that, all this person, this mountain, everything, it's all a projection on Brahman. There's only Brahman. All these, that's why it's called Mithya. And we will see a very beautiful example from the Bhagavad Gita. So typically in the Vedanta study, stage 1, 2, and 3. What stage 1? First, before you start Vedanta, you say, you think I'm the body. Then you realize, oh, there is something called consciousness in my body, because there's something which is observing, even seeing the thoughts in the mind when the mind is quiet. So you start meditating and you realize there's something which is conscious, a sakshi, a witness to everything. So it's different from my body. And then you realize, because even I gave that example, even when a portion of the body is gone, let's say a finger or something, people still function exactly the same. Of course, you are at a little bit of disadvantage, but so the body is not the consciousness. Similarly, the mind is not me. Then you realize I am the consciousness, different from the body and the mind. So till here, most people get it. Then the giant leap of a step in the study of Vedanta, which requires Vedantic meditation, is I am the same consciousness in all the bodies. And then the fifth one, the perplexing truth is there's only one, that is the consciousness. All the objects are, you see, it is projection of due to Maya on this consciousness. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, I wanted to tell this. This is given in a very, one of the most confusing verses. So Bhagavan, so when you think of Krishna, what comes to mind? Can anybody say? Can anybody say? When you think of Krishna, the word that immediately comes to mind, what comes to mind?
I think of the god, Krishna.
Yeah, but something particular about this God that comes to mind.
Sort of like mischievous.
Yes, mischief.
Yeah.
That is what he deliberately creates this confusions here and there. He plays mischief on us. So look at this. This is one of the famous verses in the Bhagavad Gita to illustrate this concept of mithya. Mithya means something that seems like it's there, but it's not really there. Like this gold chain, it is there, but it's actually just gold. It's the chain and all those things is something, the name form that you give. Like that, Bhagavan says, Matstani sarvabhutani. I missed the ma here. Matstani sarvabhutani nachaham teshvavastitaha. Matstani sarvabhutani. All beings exist in me, but I'm not supported in them. So if you are saying that Bhagavan is the sum total of all these things, like they draw a person, let's say they draw a huge person, in the person they stack a lot of these small people, and then you say, okay, Bhagavan is the sum total of all of us. But Bhagavan says, no, I'm not supported in them. Nachaham teshu avastitaha. I'm not supported in them. All beings exist in me, but I'm much bigger than the sum total of all the beings. Nacha matstani bhutani pashyame yogam aishwaram. Look at what he's doing. He's saying all beings exist in me. Now, immediately in the next shloka, he says, and beings don't dwell in me. They don't exist in me. How confusing could this be to a lay person? What Bhagavan is trying to say, he's trying to illustrate mithya. Yes, it looks like that all the beings exist in me, but in reality, all these beings are not there. They're just like a figment of imagination at the cosmic mind level. Just like in the dream, all these characters come in the dream, like that in the cosmic paramarthika level, all these are figments of imagination on the cosmic mind. So that is the famous verse. Examples, we saw the gold and the ornaments and the images on a movie theater. There's only the screen. Here, there's only gold. All these are names and forms. So Satyam and Mithya. What is, so in this case, the gold chain ornament example, what is the Satyam? Satyam means that which is true existence. What's the Satyam? Can anybody say? What is
Gold.
Satyam and what is Mithya?
Gold is the Satyam.
Gold is the Satyam. That is the only truth. The bangles and everything, because this, if it's truth, it always has to be. You can just melt it, it becomes something else. So Mithya is, it seems to be there, but in reality, it's not there. Similarly, as long as you are sleeping, you're dreaming, the images, they're all there. But when you wake up, it's gone. Similarly, as long as the temperature and everything is there, you have these forms, but when the, let's say during pralayam, when the temperature becomes high, everything is melted into gold. Similarly, here, what is the Satyam? The screen image example. Anybody?
I don't know if it's the screen or the light,
Screen.
actually.
Yeah, that's so good. That's a very good point, because so far we've been using the projector light to illustrate the consciousness. So that's why where analogies break. So that's a different thing. So very good point. In this analogy, all the images are the mithya. They're just names and forms. Yes, there is the projector light. That's but here the substratum is the screen, which is the Brahman on which everything is played. That's the only reality. You're also right that in another example, we've used the light as the consciousness. Correct. So just like a discerning person sees only clay in all parts, a jnani sees nothing other than the Atma in all the objects of the universe. That is the summary. So, okay, so we are at time. Should we do one more shloka or should I stop? I think probably I will stop because we are at time. Okay.